And of course, when you think open standards, you also have to think of open source. Now, the thing with open source is that we are actually doing a lot. So first thing first, let's talk about competition, because one of the memes is that Microsoft competes with open source. Well, no, that's not true. That's not true, and it would be just a stupid thing to do, and I hope that people will give us enough credit. What we do is definitely competing with certain products, with certain companies, actually. So does Microsoft compete with Red Hat? Absolutely. But it's Microsoft versus Red Hat. It's not Windows versus Linux. Do we compete with Firefox? Well, yes, of course. It's IE versus Firefox. But it's not about open source. And actually, we're doing a fair bit of work with open source. There is a web resource, a web properties, www.microsoft.com/open source, where we are listing those projects. And as it happens with lists, they're always, always, always out of date. But anyway, I checked last week, and my last count, and if you go there, there's this project directory, and these are all the contributions that we are doing. Well, the number is pretty impressive, 392. 392 open source projects where we are actually contributing to, that we are actually doing it ourselves, doing them with the community. Well, go and see, because 5 months ago it was quite a surprise to me as well, and it would be nice for you to see it. So what all this boils down to is that this first blurred line of open standards and open source and commercial software and closed standards, et cetera, well, it boils down to the fact that we want our users, we want all of us to have choice. But that choice depends on interoperability. So the bottom line for me to accept the job at Microsoft was that I would have been working within the interoperability group. So this is where I am. This is the office I am seated in. And this is our main web property. It contains 46 of those 392 projects. And they're all about interoperability between Microsoft and non-Microsoft technologies. It's about opening those bridges and making sure that, in our case, our customers, but generally speaking, every user out there has choice and has the ability to use Microsoft and non-Microsoft technologies. This is important. And then, of course, every discussion on Microsoft and open source cannot just quickly go through Codeplex, our open source forge, which recently passed the mark of 10,000 projects. And of course, the vast majority of that is not Microsoft. It's projects from third parties. Sure, the vast majority are ASP.NET and Microsoft technologies, but there's still a lot of open source over there. So if you look at how we have evolved, and by we, I mean everyone in this room, from like 10, 15 years ago, where we still had phone directories, where computers were not really connected one to each other, to what we have now. You see that the backdrop has changed so much that every measuring stick that we were using a long while ago doesn't really work today. And we're seeing it every day. We're seeing it every day, even in the open source communities, where, every week is the Bash open source company X week, right? Because they are doing something that is sort of borderline, because they are not making every developer happy. And the real point is that the boundary between what we used to call proprietary or commercial open source and open source software, well, it's not that clear anymore. It's not clear where you can draw the line. Because of course you can draw one based on the license. I mean, this software is under an open source license, so this is open source, and everything that is not open source is proprietary. But that wouldn't be fair, because there's a lot of mixed ground. There's a lot of, Gmto, crap open source out there. There's a lot of open source code that does not work towards making the user's life easier, and so on and so forth. And you have lots of counterexample in the commercial open source space, in the commercial software space. So lines are blurring. Things are changing. We are responding to change. The second bit is we have changed and become more open because we listen to our customers. It would be suicidal not to do that. And what are those guys telling us? Well, guess what? They want to interoperate. They want to live in a world where they will be able to choose the technology that suits them best. And in some cases, it's Microsoft. In some cases, it's not Microsoft. In almost all cases, it's an intermixing. And they need that thing to work. So, again, just to give you an example of something that my team is running, we have this Interoperability Executive Customer Council that we will actually meet next week. We meet twice a year, and it's roughly 50 people from 50 large companies. And we bring them to Redmond to have them tell us what is that they need. So this is another channel. So the idea that interoperability becomes one of the reasons, one of the stabilizing factors. Remember, open source is an unstable compound. While in Microsoft, if you have to think, why are we doing that? Well, it has to deal with the need to interoperate. And by doing that, we're doing open source. And we are doing outreach to our customers. We are asking them what they need, what they want, how we can help them best. The third line that is blurred is, of course, the cloud. You will be sick and tired of hearing stuff about the cloud, but it's true. It changes everything, and it actually has been changing everything since a few years now. Because the moment we are talking cloud, the moment we are talking services, well, that's the moment where we are bringing another layer of abstractions. And, I still remember I started my career as a sysadmin, and my main worry was what? Power supplies, hard drives failing, cables. That kind of stuff took the lion's share of my time. Making sure that everything ran was actually a matter of dealing with physical stuff. And then the first wave came, and I still remember this huge sigh of relief when I knew that I was not going to have to board a plane and go to my data center in Holland to change a hard drive, because someone else would have taken care of that, right? First wave of the cloud, infrastructure as a service. And with platform as a service, we're moving that even further. And at that point, even talking about an operating system doesn't make a lot of sense anymore. As a matter of fact, when thinking of our cloud platform, Windows Azure, and don't forget that Microsoft has been in the cloud for a while, because Bing is a cloud application. Windows Live is a cloud application. Windows Update is a huge cloud application, serving a lot of updates all over the place. So I think we know a thing or two. But the great thing, and this was another great motivation for me to join this company, was looking at how open is the cloud design in Microsoft, how there is a thorough understanding that we need to be more open in the cloud. And it happens by giving you choice. So the Windows Azure platform is what we call a platform as a service. So we're providing sort of high-level services so that you can install your application on. And guess what? It's not just ASP.NET. You can do it in PHP. You can do it in Java. You can use your favorite environment. You don't have to use Visual Studio. You can use Command Line. You can use Eclipse. So, again, the cloud is bringing us a new wave of openness, because it's clear that those open source technologies, those open source frameworks, it's what we are dealing with day to day, and every cloud provider needs to enable their customer if they want to survive, and this is what we're doing. So it's a sort of open by design. It was like, whoa, really? And we are seeing that. We are having actually praises from the PHP community. I'm meeting with a lot of those folks, and they actually like the cloud. They actually like what we're building. And guess what? We are doing that because these are the market dynamics. This is how things have changed. And the only difference that you can spot between a Windows cloud and a non-Windows cloud is probably that inside your code you may have one backward slash instead of a forward slash. But that will be basically all, and you won't even need to have that. So to conclude all this, let me just restate. We have changed. We have become more open. We are more open than what generally people think, and definitely Microsoft is a more open company than I thought. I've been 5 months in the job. I've been learning the ropes here in the US, and again, moving everything, moving my family, learning to live in a new country, discovering how this place is actually a fantastic place, the South. I've been in the Northwest, and yesterday I landed at the airport, and I was like, oh, this is awesome. So I definitely, I need to come back. And let me make a comment on this conference before I close. Yesterday I was speaking with a delegate, and she said, well, you know what I love about this conference is that it's a great boutique conference. So, those boutique hotels, the idea of something that is very, very polished, and it's extremely warm and inviting. Well, it has been great to be here. It has been great. So thanks to all of you. And don't hesitate, all of you, to just contact me at either my address, because I still am a member of the Apache Foundation, actually. I'm enjoying doing a lot of work, even there, a lot of volunteer work. But I also can be reached as Gianugo.Rabellino@Microsoft.com. Please do that. I'm there to listen to open source communities and making sure that we can work well together, because this is the ultimate goal of the company. So thank you.
Thank you very much. And you've got that dual citizenship thing. I saw it up there, the Apache and the Microsoft thing as well. And I was going to tell you, welcome to America. And by the way, we have a different word for polenta here. We call it grits.
Oh yeah, but it's so, actually I had grits for breakfast this morning.
Yeah, and it was okay?
Absolutely, it was awesome.
Fabulous. All right.